Shalom. This is Hadassah Bath Saiwan returning with part 2 of the End Times Prophecies. And what we're still looking at the books of St. Matthew chapter 24, the book of Mark chapter 13, the book of Luke chapter 17 and chapter 21. And this part 2 is labeled or titled More Prophecies Past, Present, and Future. So we're going to look at the remaining of these chapters. We've looked at the very first parts of these chapters, and each segment that I looked at were prophecies. So in reflecting on what we did in part 1, we recognize that when HaMashayach spoke and he referred to the abomination that makes desolate, and the book of Daniel, the prophecy of Daniel, Daniel was also reflecting on this abomination that makes desolate. So there are several times in our history where there was a thing called the abomination that makes desolate. So we're going to look in detail at the abomination that makes desolate in part 3. We're going to focus on these four chapters and recognize that they're out of sequence. In part 1, I showed you when HaMashayach also spoke to his disciples. He was warning them of what was going to happen to them, right? After he died and rose again, and what was going to happen in the next generation, which would have been 70 AD. Okay? And he also warned for the future generation, which people refer to as the fig tree generation, the generation that would be seeing what is the end time evidence, okay, the events. All right. Now, this is one thing that you need to understand, the language of prophecy. HaMashayach and the Father, they all speak they speak in a language that if you do not understand what that language is, you will be misled. HaMashayach spoke in parables. And he spoke in parables for a reason, because it was not given to everyone to understand what it is that he's saying. Only his own people will receive, meaning people that have received him as their savior will receive the message and the understanding and the knowledge of the message. Prophecy is the same way. Without the Ruach HaKadosh, you're not going to understand the message behind the prophecies. Okay? It is vitally important to understand the message behind the prophecies. But what the wicked people have done that have rewritten the Bible, and when I said rewritten, it means translating it from Hebrew, or our language, actually. It was our language, it wasn't Hebrew. But they translated it, and at the same time they made chapters and they made verses, which was not originally the way how the word was. And when they did that, they rearranged the verses. And even within the verse, they rearranged the words. So what I have done is I've put the verses in the correct order, right? Starting with the persecution of the disciples and the apostles of HaMashayach, then the persecution of the people, the southern kingdom in 70 AD. That was in part 1. So now we're going to look at the next level of events. When we think of the end times, you have to think that there are 3 segments to the end times. 3 segments. You might even say 4, but we're going to stick with 3 for now, and I'll explain the 4th in a little while. The first level of the end times is called tribulation. All right? Many people get confused with tribulation and great tribulation. Two completely different events. Tribulation is actually the birth pangs, the beginning of sorrows. All right? And what is the beginning of the sorrows? When you go to the book of Revelation, when HaMashayach, which is the lamb that was slain, he took the book with the 7 seals. And each seal represented an event that was going to take place on the earth. Those 7 events are the beginnings of sorrows, also known as the birth pangs, also known as the tribulation. Please do not get confused with the great tribulation, because the next event, which is the great tribulation, has to do with the 7 trumpets. That is the great tribulation. Okay? And when we get to the third event of the end times, they're called the 7 vials, which is the wrath of Elohim, the wrath of Yahweh. So we have the birth pangs, also known as the beginning of sorrows, also known as the tribulation period. Then we have the great tribulation period, and then we have the wrath of Elohim. Okay. Now I said there, you could possibly say there's a fourth event. And why I said that is because when HaMashayach returns to the earth as king, all right, those that were dead in him, meaning the righteous dead, will rise up and reign with him for 1,000 years. Satan will be released from his prison. All this is in the book of Revelation, chapter 19. After he's released, he's going to have his armies come against HaMashayach and his people again. But this time, the Father in heaven is going to rain down on him and his people, cast him into the fiery lake, and destroy everything, and cast them all into the lake of fire. And what ushers in next is the white throne judgment, where the dead, whose names are not written in the Lamb's book of life, will be judged and cast into the lake of fire. So that's why I said you could kind of look at that as a fourth event. But that has nothing to do with us, because once Satan is done with, the Most High, yes, he's going to judge those people, but he's going to renew the earth, renew the heavens, and renew Yarawashalam. We're going to have a new Yarawashalam coming down from heaven. But I'm going to stick with 3. Okay? We're just going to stick with 3. It makes it simpler than just, So what we're going to do now, we're going to start this part 2 lesson and see what is going on. Now, this is, to me, since I have, put these chapters in order, it makes so much more sense. All right? And it makes the coming events more sensible. All right? And when you listen to the Gentiles teaching on these chapters, it's all very confusing. That's why people will ask a million questions. Why this? Why this? How come it says this in that chapter? Because confusion breeds more confusion. Okay. After HaMashayach revealed to his disciples the beginning of their tribulation, where they were going to be imprisoned, beaten, and killed, taken to the councils and the synagogue, the leaders in the synagogues, that he was speaking about his disciples, not us. We're not going to have synagogues where we're going to be taken and beaten anymore. You know what? Like I said in part 1, you have a choice of 2 words, yes or no. Yes, I will submit to the beast system, or no, I will not. And if you say no, they're not going to listen to you testifying of HaMashayach, because they're not his people. They're just going to chop your head off. They say, no, okay, take them into the prison, chop their heads off. They're not going to sit back, like in the days of the apostles, when they were brought before the leaders, and he said to them, don't think about what you have to say, because the Spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, is going to speak through you. And he did it that way because amongst the people, there were righteous people that needed to hear the truth. But these last days, there will be no more righteous people. It will only be the wicked that will try to imprison his people, to destroy them. Because the righteous ones will either be taken in the chariots, which will be the southern kingdom, or will be on their way to their land, our land. All right? There'll be no more testifying about anything. The only testimony that this earth is going to hear is when the angels themselves come and proclaim righteousness. All right? He later described what was going to happen to the not too distant future generation and the distant generation, the distant future generation, which we, us, our generation. The temple in Yerushalayim would once again be destroyed and captives taken by the Roman armies. This occurred in 70 AD. That was the last time, and it will be the last time that Yerushalayim will be destroyed. There will be no more wars in Yerushalayim. All right? HaMashayach began to reveal the next level of judgments upon the southern kingdom, our people, the 2.5 tribes, which is called the beginning of sorrows, otherwise known as the birth pangs or the tribulation period. This is the period that we now we're going through, because 4 seals have already been opened. All right? And this is where he's sifting the southern kingdom. It is because of these birth pangs that the rebels amongst us will be exposed due to their disobedience to the word of Allah Hayam. This is how he knows who belongs to him, who are the sheep and who are the goats. Who's going to obey him, or who's going to be sitting back waiting for either a rapture to happen, right? Or waiting to be taken by cruise liners into the wilderness. Don't really make sense, but that's what's out there. People are sitting back waiting for the wilderness experience, when the wilderness experience is not for the southern kingdom. Well, it's not experience, but the wilderness, the second exodus into the wilderness. That's what I meant to say. Okay? People are waiting for that. I'm talking to people, and that's all they're talking about. Second exodus, and they're the southern kingdom. Because they've been misled by the false teachers with this doctrine, because they don't understand there are 2 kingdoms. We're not one kingdom, and we will only be one kingdom when HaMashayach comes and reigns as king on the earth. When he comes to the earth the second time to reign as king, he will return with the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom will already be in the land. The rebels would have been purged out from both kingdoms, and that's when he will bring the 2 together and make them one. All right? We're not going to be one beforehand. He's dealing with us separately, but he's dealing with the southern kingdom first because the gospel came through us. We were the last to be scattered, and we're the first to be regathered. We went through more than what the northern kingdom have been through. We have been given a grand opportunity to seek HaMashayach and to follow his ways as he has outlined for us in his word. But many are rejecting his commandments and his son HaMashayach, going another way, following others in order to continue living the way they love to live, like heathens. Many of our people are still seeking to go after other gods, especially the god of Mammon. Yes, they're calling on the name, still calling on the name Jesus Christ, Lord and God. They're calling on the Yahweh as their God. They're calling on Yahuwah as their God. They're calling on Yeshua, Yeshaya, all these different weird names they're calling as his name or his titles. Not his name. If you want to be saved, call him Abba, which is Father. Call him Yah. Call HaMashayach, HaMashayach. All right? If you don't want to go into the name thing, stick with the safe titles. All right? But the time will come when they will see the error of their ways, but it will be too late. Exactly. Because when the chariots come and you're not ready, you're not prepared, you're not going anywhere. But we're going to see that coming. HaMashayach is sifting the southern kingdom to get them ready for the chariots when they come. The southern kingdom will not be spending any more time on the earth as we have fulfilled our judgments. And now it is time to head home to the kingdom of heaven. If you don't understand that, I've done already too many lessons about this. There's one called the kingdom of heaven. Next one is called the chariots of Yashrael. And the third one is called the second Exodus into the wilderness. Go and check them out. I go into great details about this thing, the chariots that are coming for the southern kingdom and what's going to happen to the northern kingdom. You can also even look at the 3 feast days and 3 harvests. I also go into it in there. There we will wait out the rest of the tribulations. The tribulations have started because the seals have already been broken. The first 4 seals. The 5th seal, we may or may not know that it has been broken, because this is something that Yahuwah, who is John, he saw this happening in heaven, where the souls under the altar cry out to HaMashayach, when will you avenge us? Now these are not the people that have come out of the great tribulation. Cannot be, because the great tribulation has not happened yet. These are our brethren that have been martyred throughout history, that are sitting waiting for the end to come, so that they can come and be restored, resurrected to life. Read the language, read the words carefully. Many people think that it is going to happen, the 5th seal is going to happen when the mandates and all these different things come and people are beheaded. No, those are not the beheaded people. No, they're not. Okay? They're not. There are people that have died, the righteous people that have died, they have been martyred, they've been killed for the testimony of HaMashayach, and they're sitting and they're waiting to be resurrected to life. All right? Let's see where I stopped off. Yes, so there we will wait out the rest of the tribulations. I've read that. We will return to the earth with HaMashayach when he returns to establish his reign on the earth as king. This will also be the reunion of the 12 tribes, and we will be one kingdom again, and he will be our king. We saw in the first study how the scriptures in Matthew chapter 24, Mark 13, Luke 17, and 21 were all jumbled up, making the sequence of events all confusing. And it was done on purpose because, as you can see, people are confused about what's coming. But there are clues in the language within these scriptures to help us to rearrange these chapters and verses to make, not actually it wasn't the chapters, it actually the verses, to make them make sense. All right? Not the chapters. That was an error. To rearrange the verses to make them make sense. So in the verses in Matthew chapter 24, Mark 13, Luke 17 and 21, they need to be rearranged. All right? Not the chapters. HaMashayach was explaining to his disciples the order of the end time events, starting with what was going to happen to them. His disciples turned apostles, then happened to them, which would be his disciples turned apostles, then to the next generation, and eventually to the end time generation, which is us today. Just by looking at the language, then knowing the history of Yasha'al will guide you into the correct order of events. The next order of events is current. And if current, then it means that we will see the conclusion that HaMashayach had stipulated in his word. Okay, so let's continue on with Matthew chapter 24. So we start with verse 5. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Mashayach, I'm the Messiah, and shall deceive many. Now, we can take this two ways, all right? And I've seen it both ways. So we know there are two ways in which you can read this sentence. Many will come and say that, yes, he is the Messiah, he is Mashayach, and then bring in a different doctrine. They're agreeing, yes, we agree that HaMashayach came and died and raised again. But then they have a different doctrine concerning him. They will say, well, he was just a prophet. Or he went to, like I've heard this before, he went to hell and he was beaten down there. So they're not discounting that he is the Messiah, but they add their own spin to who they think he is and deceive many people. And then the second way of how you can look at this sentence, many will come and say that they are the Messiah and deceive many. I've watched a video and we're talking about the top 5 people in this world that have proclaimed themselves as the Messiah. All right? And right now, in the land of Israel, there's one that have raised himself up to call himself the Messiah. And people are agreeing that, yes, he's the Messiah because he's doing miracles. He's healing people. So you see, the scriptures are not wrong. The word of the Most High is not wrong. So you can look at it in both ways. People will say, yes, he is the Messiah, but, and then twist the word and deceive people. Or they will just say that they themselves are the Messiah. Verse 6, and you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. And we have been hearing of wars for a long time now. We had World War I, World War II, we had the Vietnam War, we had the war in Afghanistan. So we've been hearing of war, and even lately we've been hearing of wars and rumors of wars. Again, different countries, like playing macho, flexing their muscles kind of thing. So we're hearing of wars, and we're also hearing of rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled. Don't be afraid. Don't be worried. Don't be anxious. He said, for all these things must come to pass. But here's how we know which event this is all about. But the end is not yet. That's why we were hearing about wars and rumors of wars for way back then. Way back, we've been having wars. And by the way, the same people that fund, in fact, there's one, I wouldn't say person, but one group of people that fund both sides of these wars. Okay? So wars were created to bring chaos and death. But he said the end is not yet. So we've been hearing of wars even before we were born. But that was not the end. It wasn't even the beginning of the end yet. Because other events still had to occur in order for it to be the beginning of sorrows. Let's look at verse 7. For nation shall rise against nation, which is what we're witnessing even now. We've witnessed in the past. And kingdom against kingdom. We're talking about the kingdom of light versus the kingdom of darkness. There are only two kingdoms. The kingdom of HaMashayach versus the kingdom of Satan. The kingdom of light versus the kingdom of darkness. And this is what we're witnessing today. The kingdom of darkness is what is bringing about all this chaos and confusion and death and destruction. Because it wants to conquer the kingdom of light. But we're seeing a defining line right now between the two kingdoms. Before it was blurred. They were subtle in the way in which they were going after righteous people. But now we're seeing a clear definition of who is running this show, these agendas, and what they're all about, and how they're using their agendas to either draw people into their darkness or to destroy those that reject it. Now, not all the Gentiles will remain heathen. Obviously, there are many Gentiles that have realized there must be another way. Some of them have gone in the way of the church or other religions. Eventually, they will find out what the correct way is. But they've decided we're not going that way. There will be some Gentiles that will be in our land with us. Not right now, though. Not when we come in to be sheltered from the wrath of HaMashayach. No, they will not be coming with us. They have to go through the great tribulation and the wrath of HaMashayach to prove that they believe in him and that they will serve us. All right. Continuing on from verse 7, and there shall be famines. And we're seeing that happening even today. They're stating that come the next year, 2023, because already the shelves are emptying. But this is a man-made famine. But it doesn't matter. A famine is a famine. They're destroying crops. They're destroying cattle. They're destroying these things because they're trying to push this famine. All right? But they've actually had famines for a while now. Because remember, there was that big famine in Ethiopia. Remember that? And pestilences. This is something that has been on the arise. We've seen locust swarms. There was a big one in Saudi Arabia. Then there was another one in different parts of Africa and India. And earthquakes. People have been documenting the increase of earthquake and volcanic activity. A tremendous increase in diverse places. Now, the reason why these things are quickening is because verse 8 tells you all these are the beginning of sorrows, otherwise known as the birth pangs, otherwise known as the tribulation period. Now, if you look at the seals, the first seal, the second seal, the third seal, and the fourth seal, you will see that these seals all released the devils, giving them permission to bring wars, to bring famines and pestilences, to bring destruction. Okay? That's what the seals were all about, or are all about. Giving them permission to do their dirty work. But in them doing the dirty work, their wickedness is sifting us. Because we're the only way to survive these times is to obey HaMashayach, to walk in his word. It's the only way. You can't fight these battles because it's all spiritual. Even the people that you see as the poster people, the faces of evil, they're not the spirit that is creating this havoc. They're just the faces. There are dark spirits, evil spirits that work behind them and in them and through them. So how are you going to fight them? Because if you kill one, there are many more that's going to come up, be raised up. Haven't you seen lately what they've done? They now have artificial wombs, but they've had artificial wombs for many years now. This is nothing new. That's why they have these strange people amongst us and leading us and being in our governments, being our leaders. Where did they come from? The entertainers, all of a sudden they pop up on the scene. Where did they come from? You never see them with their family members. Or if you do, the family members are just like them. Weird. But all these are the beginning of sorrow. So that's how you know this segment of event, this portion of the event did not belong, as you see, chapter 24, verse 5 to 8, did not belong so early on in the chapter. Belongs lower down. Now, we drop from verse 8 and we are now into verse 29. Because verse 29 belongs, should follow after verse 8. Look at what it says. Immediately after the tribulation of those days. He's not talking about the great tribulation. He's talking about what is happening in verse 7 and 8. Actually, verse 7. And you can even group verse 6 in there too. And you can even group verse 5 in that too. Because we're experiencing that even right now. People are proclaiming HaMashayach. They're saying that they are HaMashayach. We're hearing of wars and rumors of wars. But when those things first began to happen, it was not the end yet. But those things have been continuing on. And what's adding to it, verse 7, nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom and famines and pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places. It's all it's called like gradually building up. And that's what birth pangs are all about. If you know what birth pangs are, when a woman is about to give birth, her womb starts to contract. All right? That contraction helps to push the baby down into the birth canal. Now, that initial contraction is usually, it could be a couple minutes long, a couple seconds long, depends. And the next contraction, and then it stops. I don't think it lasts a few minutes. I think it lasts, I don't know, maybe a minute, maybe less than a minute. I've never given birth, so I don't know. But I know about the contraction, and I know that there's a space between the first contraction and the next contraction. Could be 10 minutes, could be 15 minutes, but with each contraction that she gets, they become closer together and more intense in the pain. All right? So the first contraction, oops, wow, that was a wow. I felt that. All right? And then you know something is about to happen. And first thing the doctor will ask you, how long are the contractions and how far apart are the contractions? Because the closer the contractions, the closer it means that the baby is about to come. And all the time that this is happening, the baby is being gradually pushed into the birth canal. All right, sorry to be so graphic. The pelvis is expanded. It's been expanded for the whole time, but now it opens up. Right? The head is being guided through. All right? And the opening has to expand in order for the baby to come through. So the doctor will also measure the opening, and he will know, well, this baby is not ready to come yet. Another half an hour, or whatever the case may be. But when the birth pains it becomes so intense, and it feels like they're coming every other minute, the closest time that they come together, then the doctors know that the baby is coming. The placenta breaks, the water comes out, and the baby is born. And this is why the Most High compares the end times to a woman giving birth. Because there's something birthing. It's not evil, it's good. You know what that birthing is? The birthing is the regathering of the southern kingdom. And the northern kingdom. Okay? And we can even add in there the resurrection to life of the saints. And finally, the greatest of it all is HaMashayach coming to the earth to be king. That will be the end of the birth pangs. In fact, the birth pangs move from there to great tribulation to the wrath. After the wrath, HaMashayach comes. The baby is being born. And that's why things have not really happened the way how they're planning. Because the sequence of events, according to Allah and his prophecies, the southern kingdom has to get out of here. We're not going to see the sixth seal. The sixth seal is what's going to help trigger the northern kingdom. And seal it in their minds who they are. Because every eye will see when the southern kingdom is taken up in the chariots. And we'll get to that in a minute. All right? Every eye will see. It's not going to be a sudden thing either. It's not going to be a secret. You know, the rapture watchful, the rapture hopefuls, they think it's just in the twinkling of an eye, we're here and then we're gone. It's not going to be like that. No, it's not. No, it's not going to be like that. So everything that's happening right now, there's a baby being born. And what is that baby? the restoration of Yashrael with her king, HaMashayach. Because when he comes the second time, the baby is born. It's over. The end is finished. Right? Yes, we'll have the 1,000-year reign of peace, but the wrath is finished. Okay? Satan is going to rise up again, but it's not even a battle, because the Most High is going to rain fire and brimstone and destroy them all just like that. Done. Finish. There's no cause to be concerned when he comes again with his wicked armies. But when HaMashayach sets his foot on the earth the second time, the baby has been born. It is over. He is now king, and he will remain king forevermore on this earth and in the heavens. Isn't that awesome? So we're part of the birth pangs, the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom, and the resurrection to life of the saints, the ones that will die through the tribulation, the great tribulation, the ones that realized their mistakes, realized they were left behind. Speaking of the southern kingdom, they gave their heart over, they repent, but they still have to die. They will die because Satan is going to come after them. Can't come after us because we're gone. So he's going to be full of wrath, and it will be given to him to prevail over those that were left behind, and even some of the northern kingdom, because they must submit themselves to the Most High. They must repent for their pagan ways. And once they repent, then he's going to protect them and guide them through the wilderness. All right, so let's get back to verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days. Immediately. That's why I'm saying the time is near. Because we're seeing all these things happening, nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. We're seeing the famines beginning. We're seeing the pestilences and the earthquakes and volcanoes and superstorms. We're seeing it all happening. So any day now, he's going to collect us. So immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Now, another error that people are teaching, they're calling this the sixth seal. This cannot be the sixth seal. If you read what the sixth seal says, the sixth seal has to do with, and I'm trying to find it here. I'm trying to pull it up. In the sixth seal, I'll read it to you. Revelation chapter 6, verse 12. I didn't want to put it in here to, confuse what is written down here. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black. Now, where does it say the sun became black? In verse 29. It says the sun shall be darkened. All right, let's read on. Revelation 6, verse 12. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. Now, does it say anything about the moon becoming blood here? And the moon shall not give her light. Does not sound like it became as blood. That means the moon became red, like blood, because blood is red. So the sun becomes black, the moon becomes like blood. And what's the next thing that says happen? Verse 13, and the stars of heaven fall onto the earth. Well, that is similar to this here. And the stars shall fall from the heavens, right? From heaven. That's the only thing that is similar. Let's read on. Even as a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Now here, verse 14 is the clincher. All right? To let you know that this cannot be the sixth seal. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Why? Because there was a massive earthquake on the earth. It was so massive that it affected the heavens as well. Caused the stars to fall and the dome that is above us to roll back like a scroll. Now, does that sound like what's happening here? No, it is not. So this is not the sixth seal in Matthew chapter 24, verse 29 to 31. It is not the same thing. What is happening here? He said the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Why? Because HaMashayach is coming. And not only is he coming, but he's bringing his angels with the chariots. So there's going to be some movement. But we're going to read on in the next one of the chapters, either Mark or Luke, where it goes into a little bit more detail that the earth felt some of the tremors, but there was no dome. The heaven did not roll together like a dome, like a scroll. And here's what happened. And the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief captains is verse 15 of Revelation chapter 6 that I'm reading to you. And the chief captains and the mighty men and every bondman and every free man hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne. Hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne. Is there anything here that says that the people on the earth is going to see HaMashayach sitting on his throne? And from the wrath, Yahweh sitting on his throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. All right, so I'm going to stop there because I want to read on here now. Because after the powers of the heavens shall be shaken, because he's coming down. He's darkened the sky because the true light is coming down. So it's not going to be a time of darkness because he's going to light up the earth. He's going to light up the skies. He's glory. He's light. All right. Verse 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Now, does it say him sitting, Yahweh sitting on the throne? No. Look, let's read on. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. They will have to cry. Let's read on. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. So the way how he left in Acts chapter 1, chapter 1, the angels told the disciples the way how he was received in the clouds is the way how he's going to return. But this is not his second coming. This is him coming to regather the southern kingdom. So he's coming in the clouds, and that's where he's going to remain. And with power and great glory, so he's going to light up the world, the entire earth, from one corner to the other. The four corners of the earth is going to be lit up by his glory. Everyone is going to see him. That's why they're going to mourn. Why? Because the wicked ones, they're going to run and hide. And then there are other people that they're going to start wailing and crying because there are going to be other little things that are going to be happening on the earth. We're going to see that. I believe it's in the book of Luke. All right. But people are going to be mourning. They're going to be weeping and wailing. Some people are going to fall dead from the sheer fright of it all. You know why? Because their hearts aren't right. And the ones whose hearts are prepared to receive, they have received the kingdom of heaven in their hearts. Remember how HaMashayach said, the kingdom of heaven does not come with observation. He said, because the kingdom of heaven is within you. And the kingdom of heaven, he is described many times like a seed that is planted, that must grow, must be nurtured and grow. Why? Because in order for you to want to go to the kingdom first has to be in you. Okay, let's look at an example. When the children of Yashrael were in the wilderness and they were getting ready to receive the laws, Yahweh told Masha to tell the children to prepare themselves, wash themselves for 3 days, do not go near your wives. And on the third day, when you hear the trumpet sound long and loud, get ready to come up to the mountain. But don't come near the mountain beforehand, otherwise I'll strike you down. When that happened, when he began to come down, there was fire, there was smoke, there was thunder, there was lightnings. The earth began to shake because he was coming down. When he comes down to the earth and the heavens have to shake. Sometimes one shake, sometimes the other shake. There's a shaking that is going on to let you know he is coming. And then when the trumpet sounded long and loud, what did the people do? They ran back into their tents. And they said to Masha, we cannot go up to the mountain, because if we go up to the mountain, we will die. You go on our behalf, receive the laws, and we will receive it from you. And you know why they didn't want to go up to the mountain? Because they had idolatry in their hearts. Masha said to them that he said to them, don't be afraid. He's doing all of this to invoke out of you fear of him, reverence for him. He said, don't be afraid. Reverence him instead. But the people cleaned their bodies, they cleaned their clothes, but they didn't clean their hearts. Because when Masha went up to the mountain, he was up there for 40 days and 40 nights. They told Ahawaran, which is Aaron, that he had left in charge to build us gods. Because we don't know about this Masha. He's left us. Although they can still see the cloud, the lightning, and the fire. It was a fire on top of the mountain. They could still see evidence of the glory of the Most High. But they didn't care about that. They wanted their own gods made from their own gold that they had and made by their own hands. That they can create, that they can manipulate. And that's the reason why they couldn't go up to the mountain, because their hearts were already sold out to another god, but that was a calf, a golden calf. And it's the same thing with our people today, because they're going after strange gods. When HaMashayach comes on the scene, you think they're going to run to him. They're going to be just like our forefathers. They're going to run and hide. They're going to weep. They're going to cry. Some are going to fall dead. I believe the worst of them all are going to fall dead. Because when he comes, every eye will see him. Verse 31, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of the earth to another. And it's not going to be a large group of people. It's going to be a remnant. But he's going to send his angels. Now, did he send an angel? No. He's going to send his angels, because his angels are coming with the chariots. All right. Let's move on to verse 32. Now learn the parable of the fig tree. when his branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So likewise, you, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. What things are he talking about? He's talking about the beginning of sorrows, the birth pangs. The nation against nation, the kingdom against kingdom, the famines, the pestilences, the earthquakes. When we start to see these things happening, know that the time is near. And he gave an example of a fig tree, because when a fig tree starts to put out leaves, we know that summer is near. So we will know the season, but we will not know the hour or the day or the hour, like it says in the next couple of verses. Verse 34. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass, meaning the generation that's seeing these things happening, the birth pangs, till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Everything is going to pass away, but his word remain sure. You are certain that his words will come to pass. But of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Abba only. So we're not going to know the exact day or the exact hour, but we will know the season, because we are seeing the signs. Things are escalating around the world. The birth pangs are increasing because we're getting ready to be taken out of here. But it's not the end yet. This is just the birth pangs. Verse 37, but as in the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. All right. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall be two in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Now let's go back to the days of Noah. We know the days of Noah was the flood, and he built the flood. It was only him and his children and his wife and their wives and the animals. Nobody else entered into that ark. All right? And it's the same thing with the coming of the Son of Man in the clouds when he sends his chariots. People are going to be busy doing their own thing. And when we look, okay, let's look at, they were eating and drinking. Is that the bad thing? Were they having parties? No. They were eating what? Flesh. And drinking what? Blood. Just like in those days. The Nephilim, that's what they were doing. And we're seeing an increase of cannibalism on this earth. I just saw a little, I don't know, I don't want to call it an ad, but they're putting it out there where they can take the DNA, like a cell from your favorite celebrity, and grow it in a lab, and you can eat that person's meat. That's cannibalism. And they're passing it off as celebrity meat. And if they do it more and more often, just like what they're doing with the bugs and the mealworms, and they're using the entertainers to push these things, then it becomes a norm. That's how they're wearing us down to accept these things. But if you're in HaMashayach, you will never accept these things. I will die of starvation first. But they're now normalizing cannibalism and even the drinking of blood. There's an entertainer out there, and they have been saying that, in fact, entertainers, not just one, they're using blood as facials. And another one is drinking the blood of their fiance. Oh yeah, this is how we celebrate our union. We drink each other's blood. No, they could not have done that 10 years ago. But they can do it now because evil is rampant. And they have all the right people in places. No matter who says what, there's no authority on this earth that can come against these people except the Most High. No one. You can come with your little army and try to fight them. They probably already know what you're planning because all the devices have microphones and stuff. And they know what we're saying. They hear what we're saying. You think you can do anything in secret? No, you cannot. You can't fight a spiritual battle with guns. So that's why, and marrying and giving in marriage. You think they were just marrying a man and a woman, having a nice wedding? No. When you think of marrying and giving in marriage, they were having intercourse with animals and beasts and creatures. Go to the book of, I believe it's the book of Jasher. Goes into detail of, and actually the book of HaMashayach, the book of Enoch, goes into detail about what these creatures were doing. All right? They were engaging in bestiality and same gender. So that's why the Most High had to flush this earth. Then shall two, verse 40, then shall be two in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. And two shall be grinding. Now the word women is italicized. I think that's the correct word. But it is added after the fact. Why they did it like that? Because it's misleading. It was just two shall be, yes, it's in italics. I don't know, the words always come out wrong for me. Two shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. So they were working. They were doing their daily chores, and then HaMashayach came. And we're going to see in another gospel that it actually shows you that, and he did say he can come in the morning, he can come in the afternoon, he can come in the evening, he can come at night. We don't know when he's going to come. All right. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your other one will come. Now, before I move on, I want to address this again because I thought there was another two people that will be doing something else. I think that would be in another gospel. Now, when you think about two, one taken and the other left, what does that remind you of? Matthew chapter 25, when it talks about the 10 virgins. 5 were wise and 5 were foolish. So half were wise and half were foolish. The ones that were wise made it into the kingdom. The ones that were foolish did not. Same thing here. It's not about two, but it's about half will be taken and half will not. So a remnant. So all will not be taken. In other words. All right. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your other one will come. Verse 43. Now, but know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch, meaning what time the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Which is true. If you know when the thief is going to come and break into your house, you'd be at the window or the door or wherever waiting for him. Would you not be? Yes, you would. But he's comparing his coming to a thief. Meaning, you don't know when he's going to come. He did say, we will not know the day or the hour. Not even he knows the day or the hour. Verse 44, therefore be you ready. How will you get ready? Just like the virgins, because right after this chapter 24, when he's talking about the end times, he compares it to the 10 virgins. Because 5 were ready and 5 were not. How were they ready? The 5 that were ready had oil in their lamps. They said vessels. All right? And the other 5 did not. So when you're ready, it means that you are walking the straight and narrow path. You are filled with his anointing power, his oil, so that you can see. Not saying that you're not going to see him when he's in the clouds, but you will have a insight as to what is going on, and you will not fear, you will rejoice. Whereas the others who will not know what's going on, even though they can see that there's someone in the clouds, they will know who it is. But you will know who it is because you've been preparing and doing your due diligence, obeying his commandments, and his Ruach HaKodesh has been teaching you and grooming you for this hour. All right? So the whole idea is to get yourselves ready. Don't wait. Listen, there are many people that are waiting to get into the wilderness to get themselves ready. That is the most foolish thing I've ever heard. You get yourselves ready now. There's no such thing as being over-prepared. But there is such a thing as being under-prepared. For in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man comes. We don't know when he's going to come. He can come tonight. He can come in the morning. We don't know. But the whole idea is to watch and pray and get yourselves ready. Get your house in order. Get your act together. You don't want to remain here because you're going to go through some serious things. The devil is coming after you. So now we're going to go to Mark 13. And again, it starts from chapter 5. They put all these, the beginning of sorrows, at the very beginning, which to me does not make any sense. Take heed lest any man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am HaMashayach, and shall deceive many. And when you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be troubled, for such things must needs be. These things have to happen, but the end shall not be yet. It's not even the beginning of the end. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginnings of sorrows. So Mark is confirming what Matthew is saying. Verse 24, so we jump from verse 8 to verse 24. But in those days, after the tribulation, so he worded it differently because Matthew said, but after the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give her light. So again, he confirms that this is not the sixth seal. And the stars of heaven shall fall, and the powers that are in heaven shall be shaken. Verse 26, and they shall see, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with great power and glory. Everyone's going to see it. There's not going to be a secret snatching away, as many think, because they're reading the book of Thessalonians and book of Corinthians, you know what Paul is saying, and they're going with Paul and forget about what HaMashayach is saying here. All right. Verse 27, and then shall he send his angels and shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from the uttermost part of the earth to the uttermost part of heaven. So wherever his southern kingdom have been scattered and weren't able to get in within his borders, he's going to collect them. That's why I say it to people, if you can't get out of the country that you're in, stay where you are. But if you can get out, get out. You want to spare yourself some misery, get out. All right? But if you're stuck and you have to take the jibby jab in order to, don't go that way. All right? Try to find a place that is safe, that you can hunker down and get into the word. That's the most important thing. You got to get yourselves ready. The Most High pulled me out. He said, you're not going to be safe in Canada. And so said, so done. No one can travel into Canada or outside of Canada or within Canada by planes, trains, or buses. I'm talking about the long distance buses without the pork. And people are so stressed out there. And he brought me within his borders. He said, I'm going to keep you safe here. But if you can get out, get out. If you want to know where the borders are, his borders, type it in your browser. And you'll see an outline. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the map of it, and I'm going to put it either in the description box or pinned it in the comments section. And then I'll probably put it in the community, because I haven't used that yet. I have to start using that. All right, because there's a map that shows you the borders. And that's where you're going to be safe. All right. So let's move on. Verse 28, now learn a parable of the fig tree. When her branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So you in like manner, when you shall see these things come to pass, know that it is near, even at the door. So you have to use common sense. You have to use discernment. You have to use wisdom, and you must have knowledge. Because if you're looking at these things and think, okay, we still have 3 more years, 4 more years, you're wrong. You're wrong. We are so close. It's at the doors. He said, even at the doors. Where's your door? Your door to your house. Verse 30. Verily I say unto you that this generation shall not pass till all these things be done. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. But of that day and that hour knows no man, no, not the angels who are in heaven, neither the Son, not even the Son, HaMashayach, knows when he's coming. But Abba, because the Father has that in his wisdom. It kind of reminds me of a wedding. Because with our people, back in the day, when a man betroths a woman, it is the father that tells the son when it is time to go and receive his bride. And this is what it reminds me of. So the father, he will say, son, it's time for you to bring home your wife. Go and collect your wife. Sound the trumpets, we're having a wedding. Verse 33, take you heed, watch and pray, for you know not when the time is. And that's what we need to do. We need to watch the horizon and know what time it is, what season we're in, and we need to be praying. We don't know the exact hour that he's going to come. So now we're going to look at Luke 17, verse 34. Now Luke is all over the place, because Luke is divided in two chapters, chapter 17 and chapter 21. It's like he took from what he has heard from Matthew and Mark, and then he puts them in two different chapters. All right? We're not gonna fret about it. Okay? Verse 34, I tell you, in that night there shall be two. You see, you have two men in one bed. Now, why would they put two men in one bed? Doesn't that sound a bit strange to you? All right? There shall be two in one bed. That means that they're sleeping. The one shall be taken and the other shall be left. Two shall be grinding together. The one shall be taken and the other left. Two shall be in the field. The one shall be taken and the other left. The words in italics in the Bible were added after. They were not the original text. Okay? Now, verse 37 I have highlighted because it does not belong there. It does not belong after verse 36. But I left it. And they answered and said unto him, Where, Adawan, where, master? And he said unto them, Wheresoever the body is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Now this does not belong there. All right? And we'll see where it belongs according to Matthew. We have to go with Matthew and Mark rather than Luke. But Luke still supports some of the things that are saying, because everything has been out of sync. All right? So what it insinuates here is that the people that have been taken, they're killed, and the vultures are going to gather and eat them up. That's the insinuation there. All right? So let's look at Luke 21 verse 8. And he said, Take heed that you be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am HaMashayach, and the time draws near. Go you not, therefore, after them. So you see, again, there's more added in Luke that you will not find in Matthew and Mark, or it has been out of place, right? Go you now after them is speaking of the end when he comes, when they're going to say he's out in the desert, he's in the chambers. He said, but don't go out after them. But here in Luke chapter 21 verse 8, it sounds that he's saying, many will come in my name, saying, I am HaMashayach, and the time draws near. Go you not after them. That should not be there. Because as we've seen from Matthew and Mark, it just stipulates that many will say that I am HaMashayach and deceive many. And end of story. Verse 9. But when you shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. So he got that correct. Then he said unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilence. And here's where he added more as well. And fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. Now he added that. Well, I shouldn't say he added it, but that was added, because we don't know if Luke did that. All right. So let me just say something, right? A lot of people get a little nervous because we should not mess with the canon of the Bible. That's utter rubbish. Who canoned the Bible? The Catholic bishops, our enemies. They're the ones who messed up our writings. They're the ones who took out books and added their devilish books. They took out names and added their devilish names. So the Bible was not intended to be canon. That's utter rubbish. Utter rubbish. All right? Luke chapter 21 verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. So here, not only are there signs in the sun, which we know the sun become dark and the moon does not give her light, and the stars fall from heaven, But he said there will be signs. So he doesn't go into detail about what is going to happen exactly. Then he goes to the earth now. He said there will be great distress of nations. Yes, the people are mourn. They said the tribes of the earth are going to mourn with perplexity, and the sea and the waves roaring. And I believe that as the heavens are shaken, the earth is going to have some sort of it's going to have a rippling effect on the earth. So that is possible, that the earth will be shaken as well. Verse 26, men's hearts failing them for fear. Right? Fear. Men's heart failing them. That means people are going to die from the fear of what is happening around them, because they don't know what's going on. But the ones whose hearts are prepared, who the ones that are ready, they will know what's going on. And for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. Okay, so there are things that are going to be happening on the earth, simultaneously things that are going to happen in the heavens. And I believe that. I believe it will happen. For the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. So he is in agreement with Mark and Matthew. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws near. That's our redemption, our time to go home. And he spoke to them a parable. Behold, a fig tree and all the trees, and all the trees, on all the trees. Verse 30. When they now shoot forth, you see and know of your own selves that summer is now near at hand. So likewise, when you shall see these things come to pass, know you that the kingdom of HaMashayach / heaven, that's the same thing, is near at hand. The kingdom of heaven is near for his southern kingdom, because he will take his people in the chariots and take them into the kingdom of heaven. It is near. It is near because we'll be taken there. The kingdom of heavens is coming to us. We're going to it. Verse 32, verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, so that day comes upon you unawares. Be careful that you don't get too absorbed into your career, your job, working, paying your bills, doing the things that you see other people doing, under the system. When in fact you should be spending the time getting into the word and getting your house in order, because the time is so near. Make sure that you're serving the right person. You're serving HaMashayach and not another God. In fact, though, he is not a God, but serving gods. Gods are created. He is not created. He is the creator of the gods, because the gods are fallen angels. So be careful that you don't get caught up in this life, because that's what Satan wants. You want to get married, you're looking for a husband, or you're looking for a wife, you want to have a nice wedding, you want to have children. This is not the time for that. It is not. It's not time to go to college or apply to college or university. It's a time for you to hunker down and get into the word of the Most High and make sure that you are ready. Your house is in order. Otherwise, all these things are going to fade away. You know what the wicked leaders say? You will own nothing and be happy. In other words, you will have nothing. You will own nothing. You will have nothing. All these things that you work for will be taken away from you. And you will have no choice but to be happy with it. Otherwise, they're going to kill you. So take care that you are not too caught up in this life. This world holds nothing for us anymore. We're sojourners here on this earth until HaMashayach comes and establish his kingdom. But in the meantime, we're sojourners here on the earth, getting ready to be taken to the place where he is. He said, in my Father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. I think I put that before, put it behind. Like I have it reversed, in other words. Right? This is what he's telling us. He's getting ready to bring us home. And we're here trying to hold on to a mortgage. Looking for a house to rent. Looking for this, looking for that. Buying furniture, fixing up your house, and doing all these different things. All these worldly things that you see your friends doing. You want to be just like your friends. You will never be like your friends. But the only thing that you will be like them is when they perish, you will perish along with them. And that means there's no salvation and there's no resurrection to life. Verse 35, for as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. It's going to be like a trap. You know when you put out a rat trap or a mouse trap? There's no degrees of when that trap is going to be sprung. Because when the mouse or the rat goes to take the cheese or whatever the food is that you put there, it snaps suddenly. So what he's saying here, when HaMashayach comes, he's going to be a sudden coming, but it's not a secret coming. And he's going to come when you least expect him to. That's why every day I look up. Are you here yet? Are you here yet? I hear thunder and lightning. Are you coming? Is that you? Call me crazy, but I'm ready to go. Verse 36. Watch you therefore and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. Because he's bringing us home. Our days of sorrows will be over. Our days of weeping will be over. We will live in peace and tranquility for the rest of the days, for the rest of our life. So that's why he said, watch, but also pray that you are accounted worthy. Meaning, get your house in order. Do some deep checks in your heart. Make sure that there's nothing hidden there that will hamper you from going towards the chariots instead of hiding under your bed when it comes. Because when these things start to happen, it's going to be things that you've never seen before with your two eyes. I experienced an earthquake once and it shook me to my root. Why? Because I wasn't prepared for it. All right? It wasn't even a big earthquake. All right? Matthew chapter 24. Now we're looking at verse 21. For then shall be, we're now into the great tribulation. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be. So after we leave, after the tribulation of those days, now starts the great tribulation, the trumpet judgments. Verse 22, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. Who are the elect? It's not the church. This is all about Yashra'al. And if the southern kingdom is gone, then it has to be about the northern kingdom and the few righteous ones that were left behind that turned their hearts back to Allahayam from the southern kingdom. They're going to be the elect. But only a few are going to turn their hearts around. Many are going to be angry because they feel entitled because they're Hebrew Israelite. And they're in a camp and they wear fancy costumes and they think we are entitled because we are Hebrew Israelites. But they're sadly mistaken. The Father isn't looking for any more rebels. But the elect, which will be the chosen ones, right? He's going to shorten the days to make sure that his people make it into the land. And know the elect of the southern kingdom who are left behind, and they become the elect because they've repented and turned away from their wicked ways. They cannot join the northern kingdom into the wilderness. It will not happen. The Father has given us a chance to escape, but because of your rebellion, you've chosen not to. So now this is the consequences of your actions, and you have to bear it. And it may come to death. And as a matter of fact, 99% of the time, you will die. That's the consequence of disobedience. Okay, verse 23. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is HaMashayach, or there, believe it not. So this has to do now with the second coming. Because remember, the anti-Mashiach or the anti-Messiah is going to come, and he's going to proclaim himself to be God, to be the Messiah. Right? And his people will say, this is the Messiah, go after him. He said, don't go after them. Don't go after him. For there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. He's talking about the false prophet, Satan's henchman, and he's talking about the anti-Messiah, because they have duplicates of themselves. All right? We've always had false messiahs, and we've always had false prophets. So this is nothing new, but these are the henchmen now, the big ups, the ones that are demon possessed with frogs. And these are the ones that are going to show great signs and wonders. Not like the fake ones that preach a pretty message and that's it. But these ones are going to show you great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But they will not, because the Most High is going to make sure that his people are protected. But if it were possible, they would be deceived. But they will not. Verse 25, behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. So don't go and don't believe. And here's why. He said, because when he comes, verse 27, for as the lightning comes out of the east and shines even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Now, if you look at Revelation chapter 19, when he comes, and he's coming as king on a white horse with his saints, which is the southern kingdom, all dressed in white and on white horses, the whole earth is going to see it. So that's why he's saying, don't believe them that when they say that he's in the secret chamber or he's out in the desert, because you will not need someone to tell you that he is here or there or somewhere else. You will see it for yourself. Just like you see lightning flashing from one end of the earth to the other, so will it be when he comes again, the second time, to rule on the earth. This is his second coming, and this is after the great tribulation, because he's not coming during the great tribulation. He's not even coming during the wrath of HaMashayach. He's coming after the wrath of HaMashayach, and that's another proof to prove to you that it cannot be HaMashayach, because this is during the great tribulation. Right? So he's giving you hints now, and he's giving you tips. Don't let anyone tell you anything. You're going to see it for yourself. Right? Verse 28 is similar to verse 15. Sorry, not verse 15. Slide 15, which I'll show you. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. So you remember in this one, sorry, that's the wrong one. I thought it was 15, but it's not 15. Yes, this one here is actually 16. And they shall say to one another, said unto him, where are the one? And he said unto them, wheresoever the body is, there will the eagles be gathered. And it was put after the two will be in bed, the two grinding, the two in the field. And it makes it seem like this is in reference to what is happening here. But in actual fact, it is not. It is in connection to when they claim that the Messiah is in the desert, the Messiah is in the secret chamber. He said, don't believe it, because you're going to see it. And he said, wherever the dead bodies are, or wherever the carcass is, wherever the dead body is, there will the eagles be gathered. That's where the vultures will be gathered. That's where the devils will be gathered. I would not be there. So that's why I was showing you that Luke or whoever arranged it put it in the wrong place. That's why you got to do this with the Ruach HaKodesh. You have to let him show you the order. Even the book of Revelation, I'm working on that too. Right? Even that is out of order. The first 6, 7 chapters are fine. The last from 19 to 22 is fine, but the stuff in between, oh my, and even in the chapters itself, they're out of order. It's a big job, and I don't mind doing it. Praises to the Most High. So look at Mark chapter 13, verse 20. And except that Yahweh had shortened those days, no flesh shall be saved, but for the elect's sake, whom he has chosen. He has chosen his elect. This is not the church. This is talking about his northern kingdom. And maybe a handful of the southern kingdom that have repented. Okay? He has shortened the days. Days are going to get short. No longer 24, well, it used to be 18 hours, but no longer 24 hours. Verse 21, and then if any man shall say to you, lo, here is Messiah, or lo, he is there, believe him not. For false messiahs and false prophets shall arise to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect, because they're coming with sweet talk and they're going to come with their signs and wonders. Satan has power to do his signs and wonders, but it's all wickedness. A lot of it is forgot the holograms, right? Some of it is power, but a lot of it is going to be technology based. All right, so just be careful. You can make a sun in the sky and it's all a hologram. You can make a spaceship appear and it's a hologram, right? He has that technology, but there will be no technology during these days anyway. After the 6th seal, technology will be over. So they will have their evil powers, because the frogs that comes out of the beast and the false prophet, that's the source of their power, right? That's the source of their power. So this will be after the 6th seal, so there will be no technology-based miracles, technology-based signs and wonders. It will be all evil power that will be on the earth. Verse 23, but take you heed, behold, I have foretold you all things. All right, so he's warning us to let us know, because it's not supposed to be a surprise. Nothing that happens in the end times ought to be a surprise. It's only going to be a surprise to the wicked. Even our brethren who are wicked, it's going to be a surprise for them, but it's not going to be a surprise to those who humble themselves to HaMashayach, obey his commandments, and walk in his ways. Nothing will be a surprise to us. Matthew chapter 24, verse 9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you. So this is all part of the end. And you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Yes, this happened with his apostles and his disciples, and it's been happening, but it's going to be worse in these times, in the great tribulation. And then shall many be offended, verse 10, and shall betray one another. Lots of betrayal. That's why he said the love of many shall wax cold. Even family members, a lot of them have taken the poke. So there's no love between a poked person and an unpoked person, if you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the serpent juice, as people call it. The poison. The Nephilim DNA. Verse 11, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. There's going to be even more. They're not going to stop. Satan's going to keep bringing out his false prophets and his false messiahs. He's going to bring them out because he wants to deceive people, as many people as he possibly can, to drag them down into the pit of hell where he's going to go. And because iniquity, verse 12, shall abound, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And we are starting to see that even now. And the wicked rulers of this world, what they're doing is bringing a division between people that have drank the poison and those who have not. That's division. And you can see even within the family unit. Verse 14, but he that endure unto the end. That's why I put this at the last, even though it's verse 14. So now he's telling you what's going to happen to those who endure to the end. The same shall be saved. You know, there are people that are talking about salvation is a prayer. Salvation is not a prayer. And many people say a prayer and call it salvation and think that they're saved. How can you be saved what are you saved from? You're not saved yet. When you get into the kingdom of heaven, then you're saved. When the northern kingdom gets into their land, now they're saved. But we're still working on our salvation. All right? And how do we work on our salvation? By maintaining the walk that we're on, the path that we're on. Obeying the Most High. Obeying his commandments. Walking in his ways. And that's where endurance comes from. Perseverance. And resisting the enemy. Because we're working towards being saved. Saved from utter destruction. Not even the destruction of the enemy, but the destruction of Allah. You want to be saved because what this body is just a box, a covering. And it can be restored. But we want to be saved from utter destruction, from the second death. And how do we do that? Even if you die, you're still saved. If you're dying, HaMashayach, that's what I meant to say. If you've died proclaiming HaMashayach and you're righteous, you're saved. Don't worry about the fact that you're dead, but you will come again. But those who did not proclaim him and they die, they will perish. They're not going to see they're not going to be resurrected to life. They're going to be cast into outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's destruction. So that's what salvation is all about. Salvation is not about being saved from your enemies. Salvation is about being safe in the kingdom with Allah, the Father, the Son, and the Ruach HaKodesh. You're saved from his wrath and his destruction. Some people got it wrong. Oh yes, we need to be safe from the enemies. That's nothing in the eyes of the Most High. Nothing. It is the destruction of your body and soul that only Allah can do that you need to be worried about. The enemy can only destroy your flesh, but Allah can destroy your soul and your body. And you need to be saved from that because we're all under his wrath when we were born. But when we repent and we start to walk in his way and he resides in us, then we're now walking towards salvation, where we can be safe and saved. Okay, let's move on. Verse 15. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. I mean, people think that, yeah, we need 144,000 to go out there and preach the gospel. You think the Father is going to raise up these priests to bring them back to the earth, to release them on the earth, I should say, to do what? To preach the heathens, the people that should have known better? No, the gospel that will be preached in all the world will be preached by the angels. Remember, in the book of Revelation, it talks about the angel proclaiming or preaching, get out of her. Meaning get out of Babylon. The Father is going to send an angel to proclaim his word to all who will believe. He's not going to expose his people anymore. It's over. Mark chapter 13, verse 12. Now the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and children shall rise up against their parents, and shall cause them to be put to death. And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So this is the great tribulation time. It's going to be a horror on the earth. If you're caught behind, I pray that you don't. But if you're caught, it's going to be a hard life to live. And then Mark chapter 13, verse 10, and the gospel must first be published among all the nations, and that's when we know the end will come. Because the angels will be doing the publishing, they'll be proclaiming. All right. Luke chapter 17, verse 26. And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Now they have here married wives. Who were their wives? All right. Now this is the Gospel of Luke. But when you look at the Gospel of Matthew, he doesn't say wives. He just said they were married and given in marriage. These people love to add their little words in there to throw you off. All right? But don't worry about it, because if a man was marrying a woman, that would not have been an issue for HaMashayach. But they were not marrying women. All right? They were taking creatures and calling them their wives. That's what they were doing. Animals from the sea, from the air, from the ground. There were all kind of wickedness these Nephilim things were doing. Right? Until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Verse 28, likewise also as it were in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. So now he goes into even another time of judgment on the earth. But actually it wasn't quite the whole earth. The flood was the whole earth, and that was water. And this is in the days of Lot. This was a judgment of fire and brimstone, which was a few cities where there was a lot of sodomy going on, amongst other things. They weren't just eating bread and fish and drinking water. No, they were eating flesh, drinking blood. What did they buy? They bought souls. And they sold the souls. They planted and they built. Who knows what they were planting and what they were building? It was all wickedness to the Most High. It wasn't they were planting corn. No, they were planting something else. What were they planting? It was all wickedness. That's the only thing that we need to see and understand. If it was an ordinary thing, a normal thing, would the Most High send fire to Sodom and Gomorrah? No, he would not. But this was all the things that they were doing, and it was all wickedness in the eyes of the Most High. It was all an abomination. Verse 29, but the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. He's like, when HaMashayach comes on the earth, Satan will be cast into an abyss, a seal set over his mouth. He'll be covered over for 1,000 years, and there'll be 1,000 years of peace on the earth. When HaMashayach reveals himself and sets up his kingdom. Right? And in also doing that, there'll be a lot of people being destroyed. A lot of wicked people be destroyed. You think the wicked rulers that are running this world will be here? No, he's going to destroy them. All of them will be done. All of them. And all their servants will be done. Don't worry, Satan's going to raise up more of his evil servants. So let's look at Matthew chapter 24, verse 45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Adawan, his master, have made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant whom his Adawan, when he comes, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. All right. Now here's the thing. Adawan, who is HaMashayach, he left his servants, his apostles, behind to do his work. And what was his work? To preach the gospel and to lead as many back into the kingdom. Just like what I'm doing here. Giving you the message. Just like a few others that are honest and truthful, they're doing the same thing too. This is what we are called to do. This is what he has raised us up to do. And so when he comes again, he should find me doing this. Not sitting about like a couch potato. No, but getting the word out there to warn the people, warn his people, warn my people. Right? And I do it because I love him. And I love his word. And I love my people. And we've been deceived by so many people, even our own people. And I want the truth out there. Now, I'm not an eloquent speaker. And I don't care. I slip over my words. Sometimes the wrong word comes out, but I correct myself. If I can compare myself to someone, I'd be like Masha. He used to stammer. I stammer. I'm not saying that I'm Masha. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying I stammer just like how he used to stammer. But my heart is in the right place. It's to lead the people, Yashrael, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, back to the Father on the right path. Not the path, the broad way that the fakers out there are misleading you. That's my heart. Sometimes I may come across very strong, but it's not because I have any hatred. I only have love in my heart. Sometimes I get excited. Sometimes I'm annoyed because of all the lies that are out there that people are believing. And they're just sucking it up. But don't take my passion for anything else but passion. Please, listen to my words. Go to the scriptures. I'm just coming to you with scriptures. I'm not coming to you with anything but the word of the Most High. And sometimes I'll go into the Apocrypha. Either it sits with you or it don't. You're not going to find anyone on the internet doing what I'm doing. No one has the revelation in the understanding that these books have been shifted. The chapters and the verses, actually, again, the chapters in the book of Revelation, but the verses in these 4 chapters have been shifted. And that's why people have the wrong understanding. All right. Verse 50. And one of that servant shall come in a day when he looks not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. What is that? That is the final event, which will be the white throne judgment. All right? The white throne judgment coming for our rebellious brethren and the heathen out there that will not humble themselves to HaMashayach. Mark chapter 13, verse 34. For the Son of Man is as a man taking a far journey, who left his house and gave authority to his servants, and to every man his work, and commanded the porter to watch. He has given us the authority as his servants. He's given us work. And we're the watchers. We're the ones that are watching the horizon, watching for the signs, and we're reporting the signs to you so that you will know and you can prepare and get yourselves ready. And maybe he's going to use you too to warn other people. Because we're not supposed to be just sitting back and soaking it up. We all have a work to do. Verse 35. Watch you therefore, for you know not when the master of the house comes. And this is the part that I was speaking of earlier. You don't know if he's coming at evening or at midnight or at the cock crowing. This is dawn, or in the morning. This is after dawn, obviously. So you don't know when he's going to come. He can come any of those 4 times. All right? Lest coming, suddenly he finds you sleeping. Now, if he's coming at midnight, obviously you're going to be sleeping, right? So one of two things can happen. You can feel in your spirit that tonight is the night to be watchful. You just can't sleep, but you're watchful. Something in your spirit is stirring. All right? Or you actually fell asleep, but somehow you're awakened because things start happening and you can feel it happening. One time I was in my bed and I felt the earth moved, and I jumped up. I said, "Is this it?" I went outside. And I'm looking around. Is this it? Is this the time? Because I felt the earth move, but I believe it was just a dream or something, but I don't know. But I felt I was sleeping and I just felt the earth moved. And I jumped up, put on my slippers, ran outside. Right? Because I'm watchful, I'm waiting. Right? And be you ready. Okay? So, yes, I was sleeping, but I woke up. All right? Verse 37. And what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch. That's the most important thing. We need to be watching. In other Gospels, he said, watch and pray. Okay? So that's the ending of this part 2. There's one more part, which is the abomination that makes desolate. I'm going to go into greater detail in that, and that would end this particular study because I'm finished with the chapters. So the book of Matthew, Mark, and Luke I've completed, and I've put them in this order so that you will see the order of events that are to come, events that have passed and events that are to come. Now, the abomination that makes desolate, we know that it's happened twice already. It will happen a third time. So that's why I'm going to look at it. It deserves its own lesson, and we're going to look at it in greater detail. So before I end this lesson, I want to say a prayer in our language over you. It's actually a blessing. The blessing for Yashraal. It's taken from the Barayam, chapter 6, from verse 24 to 26. And this is, Yahweh bless you and keep you. So, Yabarakak, Yahweh, Yaha Shamarak. Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh, Panayah, Alayak, Wayachanak. May Yahweh shine his face upon you and favor you. Yasha'a Yahweh Panayah Alayak Wayasham Lak Shalawam. May Yahweh lift his face upon you, or may his countenance upon you, and give you peace, give you Shalawam. And I also will pray for Shalawam upon you and yours, and may he keep you until we see each other in the kingdom. Okay? So I bid you Shalawam, Shalawam. May the Most High bless you and keep you. Praises to the Most High. Abba Yah.